Hey Matt, good morning. How are you?
Hey, good morning. I'm good, thank you. Good.
Uh, Welcome back to YouTube subscribers, and apologies for last week. I was unavailable at the last minute, so we didn't record anything. But we are back and have a lovely long list of things to go through. I would love it if you would chuck some comments in as well. Let us know what you are thinking about, and we will run it in our next video. This one is about testimonials. References are sometimes referred to. I know Matt's done quite a lot of work on this, so I'm going to chuck it over to him and ask very simply, Matt, how in a contract do you ask your client for a testimonial?
Good question. What most people do is either nothing or they do it far too late in the process. They'll either ask after they've left that client because they need a reference or testimonial, something to go to a prospective client with, or if they are thinking about it, they will ask when they know for certain they are 100% done with working for that client, and they ask for something almost a bit too simple, I think, a bit like a how was it kind of statement, looking for a very small soundbite that they can put on a website, put on LinkedIn or somewhere like that.
What's the difference between a testimonial and a reference, would you say?
I think a reference is an individual that can represent you and your experience and their experience of working with you. So it's permission for a client or a prospect to have a dialogue with somebody that has that experience with you. But the testimonial I would see as more of a smaller form of a case study, which is it should be anyway. It should be describing what that experience was like for that client to work with you, what their journey was like. Where were things before they started working with you, what was that journey like? What were the outcomes that were delivered, and really, what was the transformation that they went through in working with you?
Okay, that's quite useful. We at SixProp we have space in profiles for testimonials, and it's probably the least used box in somebody's profile. So I think it's right to bring this up as a topic. I don't think the majority of people ask or even think of asking for testimonials. So if I'm working for a client and I've got somebody who commissioned the work, I've probably got other stakeholders. How do I ask them all for a testimonial? Do I give them some sort of form to fill in so they've got a bit of structure to make life easier for them? Do you have any thoughts around how I do that?
Yeah, there's a few ways you can do it, and I would actually recommend a combination of approaches. I think to answer the first question, who should you ask for a testimonial? Everybody that you work with is the simple answer. Why would you miss an opportunity to generate some useful, marketing material, but also learn about your business, learn what can be improved. It can be an educational experience as much as it is, providing assets for you to use as well. And I think, there are some forms that you can kind of put together, and I can certainly share some examples of this in the show notes. That detail the things that you want your client to be thinking about. Give a little bit of structure to their feedback to help tell that story, to help tell that experience of working with you. But I would say do that, and do that at significant milestones in working with that client, not just at the end. Do that at significant points, throughout a project or whatever it may be. But also when you're talking and interacting with the clients, whether it's on a Zoom call, whether it's over email, look out for opportunity to generate testimonial via that natural client engagement through natural conversation. And it might be someone saying, "Oh, hi, Andy, I noticed this is really good work you've done here. Really appreciate this. Just so you know, it's made this difference to our business. It's really good that you've done that. No, thanks again." And write down those things that they said, because you can also use that as part of marketing material and, share that and circulate it.
The other thing, while you're talking, that I'm thinking of is how this benefits the testimonial giver. And I often think that people obviously like talking about themselves. We run this, this chat because we like talking to each other, but also we like the sound of our own voices, clearly. But if somebody asks me for a testimonial, I when it's happened, I haven't seen it as something that's intruding in my time or anything like that, even though it is. I've actually gone, do you know what? That could be good. I can put my name against that. Ideally, they'll put my brand on it, my web link, my website, that sort of stuff. And it gives me a bit of cachet as well. If I'm giving out testimonials to people, it gives me a bit of cachet. So that's something else that I think is worth remembering when asking for a testimonial or asking to use some text that has been copied. Probably the giver will want to help you.
Absolutely. And I think if you can, do it over a video call. Make it a natural conversation. Don't make it difficult for them to do. Don't make it a set of questions that they feel obliged to, suddenly be the greatest wordsmith to find the right way of describing. Do it on a video call. Treat it as a conversation with the client, and it's, they can get a chance to review the output before you publish it if you want to. You don't have to, of course, but also use it as a way of reminding them, what that experience was like as well. It's helpful to them to recall not just where things are at the moment now that you've been working with them for a while, but where were things before? Actually, what changes have been made? How have you added value? And that may well actually spark a lot of thoughts about other areas and other projects and other things that you may be able to help them with as well, either now or in the future.
There's actually a really good parallel here between people who act as pseudo-employees rather than business entities. So I worked with a chap who ran a business called JobLock for some time, and that captured references from other businesses and allowed you to share them with your next client.
Yeah.
Predominantly, or your next employer. So predominantly it was useful for the permanent market. It meant that instead of going to a new employer and just proving a set of dates existed and you had a certain job title, which is all any of the large corporates will do now, they're too scared of giving a contextual reference to say if you are good, bad or ugly at your job.
Yes, yeah.
Instead, they will just say, yes, that person has that name, they had that job title and they did work here from January to December. Yeah. In itself, that's not really of any use. It's useful for compliance purposes. If you are employing people, it's useful to find out if they're lying to you. That's great. That has a use to it. But the contextual piece around, am I likely to get my project done working with this person, is very different. And I think that your tip about using video or a call to elicit a response or a feeling or an activity to get a testimonial is quite valuable. So I like that. I like that tip, and that'll be my takeaway from this call.
No, that's great. And I think the thing to remember as well is perhaps another subtle difference between a reference or the output of a reference and the output of a testimonial is I would argue that a testimonial should be more about your client than it is about you as the supplier. So it shouldn't be Andy is very good at this, Matt has these skills, I give him a 4 out of 5 on this. It should be about their journey, about their transformation. So if it's all about you, then I would say just take a little step back and try and engage them in that conversation and find a way to make it more about them. And that's going to appeal to and resonate far better with people that are just like them that you want to work with.
Nice, that makes sense. The other use for this, thinking full circle, of course, the point of getting a testimonial mid-contract or towards the end of the contract, or at a specific point where something good has happened, is to use that for winning future business, for winning future work. Yeah. And I think we can talk about this a little bit in our next video, which will be about contract renewals. But I saw a great LinkedIn piece this week by Frank Ray Associates. And Frank has produced for his company a set of key facts. And in some respects, these are similar to a mortgage key facts document that you would be given. But he's using that as his business proposal to say, here's my business, this is how I'll help you. And the one thing potentially missing from that document is a testimonial. To say previous customers, sorry, my iPad wants to talk to me, to say that previous customers were happy because we delivered a thing extremely well. Yeah. So equally, I think the testimonial is part of that holistic journey of running a business. Very useful. Yeah. Very useful.
Absolutely. And I think that's a a great place to leave it. As always, drop any questions, comments, thoughts in the section below. And yeah, look forward to speaking to you again soon.
Yeah. Cheers, Matt. All the best.
Bye.